We can't do it without you. This has been a dream of ours. Since I was a little boy, I wanted to run my own business. We've tried several different things over the years. Annelise has tried several different concepts. She's been successful in many of them, but it's never come together like this one. This idea woke her up in the middle of the night. It was inspired. And the last thing I will tell you is that you have a woman here, and I know that I'm a little bit jaded, but I can promise you that she will never let you down because of her character. So many companies today are run by people whose character is questionable. It's all over the news. This includes direct sales companies. This includes corporate America companies. Doesn't matter. But leadership is critical. I can promise you, you have my word. She will never let you down because of her character. She will not. I've been married to her for 15 years. She has never once been dishonest with me, never once misled me, never once done anything that has made me question her character. That should help you sleep good at night, knowing that you're being part of a good company that is going to have good leadership and that cares about their people.
There is something about accomplishment and succeeding that is just so incredible, and I love that feeling, and I think that that is why. I think it helps shape who people are, and I think it gives you that self-confidence that you need, and I just crave that. I crave that. So when this opportunity presented itself, I went after it. It's funny, I find myself telling people that it was kind of, I fell into this. But the truth is, when this opportunity came, I went after it. And I went after it really, really hard. Because I really believed that this was an inspired idea. And so I have put my heart and soul into this. And it's not been easy. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But we're doing this for a reason, and we're learning that as we go what that reason is. And so I thought I would tell you, I know most of you have heard the story, but they wanted me to share the story kind of again, so I thought I would take you on a little journey of how this all began. Let me get my little clicker because I have pictures. It's very exciting. We had actually just moved to Houston, Texas. We lived in Colorado for 10 years. All of our kids were born there. And then my husband's company closed down, so we moved to Texas. And he was helping a friend there start a bank, and we had only been there for about 6 months. And one of his old colleagues from his previous job called him, and she was like, I know you just moved there, so I know this is crazy. She was kind of joking. She was like, would you be interested in, moving to Iowa and, being a market manager for Bank of America? And I was like, I don't even know where Iowa is. I've never even met anyone from Iowa. I'm like, Iowa, but, for some reason, we just felt like we needed to go to Iowa. And it was crazy, because we just moved. I mean, we had bought a house, but okay, so we sold our house, and we packed up, and we moved our family to Iowa. And I am so glad we did, because that is where this all began. I always joke, it started with a blue door in the cornfields of Iowa. Because it kind of did. So we moved to Iowa, and pretty quickly after, it was probably we'd been there maybe 6 months, and a friend of mine invited me to do a craft show with her at the high school. They were just doing a little holiday craft show, and I had never done a craft show. My mom did craft shows a lot when I was growing up. She's very crafty. She did all cute toll painting and sold all sorts of stuff, and so I was like, that sounds like fun, I could do that, And so I agreed to do it. And I didn't know what I was going to sell, but I was going to come up with something. And at that point in time, my mom is like, I love my mom. She is a jewelry hoarder. I'm not kidding. She could have a whole room for her jewelry. And at that time, she was going through this jewelry making phase. Her and my aunt were buying beads like crazy and making all kinds of jewelry. So I thought, I'll go out and I'll learn how to make some jewelry. And so I did. I came to visit her in Utah, and I learned how to make some jewelry. Now, I personally, I loved the idea, I would say that, I loved the idea of jewelry, because I would buy jewelry, and I just never wore it. I didn't. I'd put it on, and it just wouldn't fit right, and it was too long or too short, and, I just found that I just never wore it. And so I was always on this quest to find just one piece, like an all-purpose necklace that I could wear with everything, Because I do like how I feel when I wear jewelry. You feel finished, and you feel, I don't know, you just feel a little bit better about yourself. And so, of course, I never found anything like that. So as I was playing with this jewelry and making stuff, there were some cool interchangeable, necklaces that had little baubles that you could change out, and I liked that concept. We were playing with those little interchangeable watches with the watch bands that you could change, and I just loved that idea that you could change things up. And so one night I was laying in bed, and like I said, you guys, I really don't think that this idea came from me. I think this was an inspired idea. But I was just laying there and just, so simple. Hey, add another hook to the necklace. And I thought, that's awesome. Like if you do that, you can, there's so many things you can do. My mind starts going, and I couldn't sleep. I got out of bed and I ran downstairs. I thought, surely someone has done this, right? Because it's such a simple concept. And I got online and I'm searching. I could not find anything like it out there. So there I was, at like 3 in the morning at my dining room table making, one of these little extensions, I called them, this necklace with hooks. And my husband got up in the morning and I was like, look at this necklace, He's like, woo. That's a necklace, good job. I'm like, no, it's so much more. Look what you can do with it. And I'm showing him and he's like, oh, it's great, He didn't get it, he's a guy, So anyway, so I was so super excited. And I spent this whole week, I had about a week before the craft show, and I was making jewelry like crazy. I just made tons and tons of it. And I had blisters on my hands. My friend Alicia's like, I remember coming to that first show and you showed me the blisters on your hands. And it was crazy. So I went, we set up, it was like 5 in the morning, and I dragged all my jewelry out, and I had this little corner. We had a 10 by 10 booth, which is not very big. And I had one corner, because I was sharing it with like 3 people. And it was crazy. I could not believe the response that we got. Like, women loved the idea that they could customize, this jewelry to fit their needs, that they can design their own looks. And, it's funny, those were the first necklaces I made, and I look back at pictures and I'm like, oh, I can't believe people bought those. But they did, because they loved the concept. It is all about the concept, right? And so I went home from that craft show. It was a 1-day, 6-hour craft show, Ankeny, Iowa, at the high school. I went home with $2,000 in my pocket from that show. And of course, then my husband was excited. He's like, sign up for more shows, So he's online researching. He had me booked for like every weekend through the holidays. And so I did. I was just making jewelry like crazy, buying beads. And I remember at that point I was buying all my beads and stuff from, Hobby Lobby and Michael's and Joann's, wherever I could go. So I'd like wait for the sales and, run and buy my beads half off and, put stuff together. And anyway, the holidays were crazy. But by, the end of the holiday season, every show we went to, it was the same response. Women just loved this concept. And we knew that we had to pursue this. This was something that we needed to pursue. So we started a website, and we just decided to put all our eggs in this basket and go for it. And so I have some funny pictures of the beginnings. This is one of my first shows. This was actually a show in Utah. Okay, so I had to fly there with a lot of jewelry. They charge you for every bag you check, and it can only be 50 pounds. So I'm thinking, they don't weigh your carry-ons, right? So I am not kidding. My carry-on probably weighed like 85 pounds. And I couldn't even get it up in the overhead bin. Some guy helped me. He's like, oh my gosh, what do you have in here? And rocks in here? I'm like, it's jewelry. I like jewelry. So then I'm getting off the plane, and no one would help me. So I'm like, everyone's standing there watching me, waiting, and I'm like trying to pull this bin out, and then it like falls on my head, like cuts my head open. I'm all, got my carry-on that weighs 100 pounds, and I'm like dragging it out. My forehead's bleeding. I had to like change my hair to the other side to cover the scab on my forehead for the show. It's very exciting. So there was a lot of that. Traveling to the shows was tricky with all the jewels. Okay, that's just a silly. We did a lot of outdoors. This is one of our outdoor shows. This was Sioux City. We did shows where we had to dress up at the Goose Festival. This was fun. I towed a lot of trailers with my minivan. We called my minivan the Bling Mobile. I could fit our entire display. Well, if I didn't have to take a lot of people with me, I could fit my entire 12 full-size doors, all the jewelry, all the tables, and everything. You'd be amazed at what you can fit in a minivan. The Bling Mobile. We drove that Blinkmobile into the ground, literally. This is when I shattered the back window of the Blinkmobile. I didn't push the doors in all the way. And it was like the night before the state fair. I slammed it shut, and my little 3-year-old standing out there with me, and he was like, it's shattered, we're just standing there. He's like, Daddy's gonna be mad. I was like, yeah, he is. Blinkmobile. Oh, this night the door fell off the Blinkmobile. Yeah, I came home from a trip, and I went to close it, and it just like fell off. I went and got Sean. I was laughing so hard. I was like, what? I've never seen a door fall off a minivan. That's hilarious. Like, when does that ever happen? And Sean was like, why is this funny? I'm like, it's just funny. I don't know. I hated that van. Oh my gosh. It got to the point where, like, if you stopped at a light and you sat in idle for too long, it would, like, not accelerate. I'd, like, step on it. You have to turn it off and turn it back. It was horrible. Horrible. Then one time we forgot the tools to take the table apart. So that's Trish. We're like, we don't want to leave the table at the show. So we just wedged it in the car. We had so many adventures, like running out of gas. I remember we went down to Houston, Mialisia, to pick up some beads, like 3,000 pounds of beads. Did you know a minivan could carry that? I don't think they're made for that. Maybe that's why it died. But my van was like, every time we hit like a bump, that like sparks would fly out the back. And of course that's when we ran out of gas. You know, it was horrible. So anyway, lots of adventures. We set up, this is a show we did, and we had to set up at 2 o'clock in the morning. So there we are out there, setting up at 2 in the morning. Our hands were always like filthy. It was hard work. Hard work. This is our basement. One of the rooms in our basement. There were beads everywhere in our house. Everywhere. Because I have 4 little boys, and they're like, balls, you know? And this is Sean, hard at work, organizing beads. This is another bead room, and also where we keep our inventory. There was, you guys, it was out of control. Our whole basement was overtaken with beads. That was our mailing station. We had a nanny/packager. She like shipped all of our orders, and she watched our kids. Because that's all we could afford. So that was that. This is our garage. I built so many flippin' displays. Like, there was blue paint everywhere in our house. Our neighbors would come by, they're like, are those doors for your house? I'm like, yes, I'm putting turquoise doors in my house, on every room. Anyway, okay, so it was quite the adventure, and it was exciting though. Every show we did was exciting. There were some good ones, and there were some bad ones, and I have such a respect for people that have started their own businesses, because I will tell you, it is so hard. Because even though we were having great success, every penny that we made, we had to dump right back into the business. Every penny my husband made, he had a good job. We dumped right into the business. We maxed out every credit card. We borrowed money from family. And there were times when we didn't have enough money to make payroll, and it was so hard to look our friends in the eyes that were helping us and say, I can't pay you. I don't have any money. I remember I was down in Houston doing a show, and I didn't have enough money to get home. And so Sean went around the house and gathered the kids' piggy banks and took them into the bank. He's the like district manager. He's all, can you count my pennies? Put in my account. How embarrassing. It was a very, very humbling time. And there were a lot of times when I wanted to quit. But we just knew that this was something that we needed to pursue, and we kept going. And there's one thing that I've learned, that if you surround yourself with good people, then you will be successful. I had some really good friends and an incredible husband, and not once did any of them ever tell me to quit. And they saw me through some pretty ugly times. There were times when they had to drag me through, and they did. And I'm so grateful for that. I feel like people in our lives can make all the difference, the people that you surround yourself with. That's my husband. He's awesome. I like him. I always tell him, if our marriage can survive the last requests to be in stores. And so we were in stores across the country. We started doing retail shows, and we thought, this is going to be great. This is how we're going to make it big. This is it, you know. And it was okay, though. It wasn't great. We got a lot of first orders, but not a lot of reorders. And we realized pretty quickly that a necklace just hanging on a shelf is just a necklace. If you can't show someone how it works, it's just a necklace. And there's plenty of necklaces out there. You know, we can't compete with that. So we kind of came to a crossroads last summer. We were like, well, you know, we had met this consultant in the retail industry, and he was like, we can make it, you know, we can do all these amazing displays, and you can make it huge, and we'll just figure out a way to teach people in the store how to, you know, do this jewelry. And so we were like, okay, it was going to cost like $50,000, and we're like, oh my gosh, and it was a little scary, and we were getting ready. This was the beginning of August. We were getting ready for the Iowa State Fair, which was like the mother lode. We did like 40 grand in 10 days at the Iowa State Fair. It was crazy. And this consultant was flying in to meet with us this day. And I remember I was at Walmart getting some shirts for our Dot Bling. We were making Dot Bling shirts at the Iowa State Fair. And I will never forget where I was standing when a very dear friend of mine called me, Trish Navratsky, who's here today. And she's like, I know you're super busy. She's like, I cannot shake this feeling. She's like, I just have this really strong feeling that I need to do some home parties for you. And I was like, really? Okay. I'm like, well, I'm getting ready for the state fair, and I was like, give me some time, and I'll ship you some jewelry, and you can do some home parties. She's like, I can't. She's like, I can't stop thinking about it. I just need to do some home parties. And we had like every show we'd done, we'd had women request home parties, and I just don't have a whole lot of experience in that industry, and so we'd always kind of pushed it aside. We weren't sure what to do. I thought I could be good, but I didn't know. So she put this little bug in my head, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And we met with this retail consultant, and it was like, do we do this? Do we do that? I don't know. And then in the middle of the state fair, one of our good friends decides to get married, and we're like, why? During the state fair, you know, we don't have any money, and we're in the middle of this crazy fair, and like he was getting married in Portland, and we weren't going to go because it was just too expensive, but we just felt like we needed to go. So this was like madness. So we bought the tickets, borrowed money from Sean's dad, and flew out to Portland, and it was the best decision that we ever made, because while we were there, we were sitting at a table talking with our friend's brother, and he was asking about our business, and he said, have you ever thought about doing home parties with this? And I was like, actually, yes. But I don't know what to do. And he was like, oh my gosh, you have got to come and meet my partners. And so not even like 2 weeks later, we were in Utah, sitting around a table, chatting with these guys, and this is what they do. It's their thing. And so we spent a couple of hours with them, showed them the concept, and within a couple of hours, we had an agreement with them, pretty much, to join forces and launch this company in the party industry. And we felt so good about it. It was crazy because my husband at the time was an executive for Bank of America, and he was getting promoted that week. Like, we were going to move to Kansas City the next month, and he called his boss, and he was like, hey, he's like, don't promote me. I'm going to go sell jewelry, you know? Start a jewelry company. And so he did. He quit. And we moved our family out here. And we have just been working like crazy. And we could not have even imagined this. You know, we thought if we could launch with a couple hundred people, that would be so awesome. And then within like 2 weeks, we had a couple hundred people. And then we launched with like 1,200 people. And I am just so overwhelmed. I love this industry. You know why? Because it's like our jewelry. It's whatever you want it to be. I am a mom. Oh, that's me kissing my display the last I'm a mom. I love my boys more than anything in the world. And I love the fact that in this industry, I can be a mom. That can be my #1 priority. And I can build a career around my family. I think being a parent is the #1 most important thing we can do. And I love that. I think so many people have their careers and then they fit life in around their careers. But in this industry, it doesn't have to be that way. It's whatever you want it to be. If you have time to build a multi-billion-dollar empire, you can do that. Or if you just want to do a party a week or a party a month, if you need to take time off for your family, you can do that. I love that. I love that about this industry. I love you guys. Thank you so much. I love you. I was thinking about it, and last year about this time, I still had my whole slew of shows. We had our agreement, but I had to finish all my shows up, and I was packing my car. I was going to be gone for like 3 weeks. I was going to go to Washington, and I was like all over the place. And my little 6-year-old was like, Mom, he's like, what made you think it would be a good idea to leave us for so long? And I was like, I'm sorry. It was horrible. So I just want to say thank you to you guys for helping me do this. I'm so grateful that I don't have to do it alone anymore. I have 1,200 women that help me sell this jewelry. Thank you for allowing me to live my dream and still be a mom. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're so grateful for you guys, and we're grateful that you're here. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to come. This is about you. And that's the number one thing that I have learned in this whole journey is the jewelry is great, it really is, but this isn't about jewelry. This is about people. This is about you, and this is about impacting people's lives and changing lives for the good. And I'm just so grateful to be a part of it. And we just want to take as many people as we can on this journey with us. Thank you.